Tell me, okay, you saw him hitting. How does he look?
Okay, well, the Tiger that I know, I'll tell you this. I feel like regular Tiger's back, and here's why. It's the interaction that we had right before I came over to do this shot with you. He had just hit his shot on number 4. He went back and sat down in the cart and got out a bag of sandwiches, and I went over to ask him what he wanted me to tell everyone, and the first thing he said was, hey, you know you're not getting on these sandwiches. And Erica, who was with him, was like, hey, we share. And he goes, what, French? There's no French. I'm not sharing these sandwiches. Look, he don't need a sandwich. And we started laughing.
Okay.
Then he said that I'm good. I feel good. But I'll tell you this. Definitely this morning, he arrived probably just after 8 o'clock for a 9 o'clock tee time. He was on the range for about 35, maybe 40 minutes. He was walking very slow. And he looks like he's still not necessarily comfortable, maybe in a little bit of pain. That being said, his swing looks pretty nice, and his iron game looks spectacular.
But based on what you saw, Michael, what are your expectations for him this weekend?
Very low expectations for him, but I got to tell you, last time that they played, he said Charlie carried him most of the rounds that they played here on Saturday and Sunday, and Charlie's going to have to carry him again, but Charlie looks spectacular.
All right, last thing I'll ask you here. Tiger kind of downplayed how much we would see him on the tour, but do you think he was just lowering expectations, or do you believe that's accurate?
No, I definitely believe that's accurate. I think that even with the rehab that he is going through and the rehab that he has upcoming, don't forget, this is a guy who already had 10 surgeries, 5 on the back and 5 on the leg, knee, and foot, okay? So that's the starting point, and he turns 46 in just a couple of weeks. So the fact that this now puts on top of that, I would say, and he mentioned it too, the way that Ben Hogan played. So Tiger didn't play a lot before, but to see him at 10 tournaments in the future, I think would be a lot. And that's only if he goes back to playing competitive golf, which he still hasn't said he's definitely going to do. It's Tiger Woods. As many times as we're going to tell ourselves, pump the brakes, man. It's Tiger Woods. We're not pumping the brakes because it's Tiger Woods.
Exactly.
Have a happy holidays,
and that's
everybody.
why he is what it is.
The PNC Championship in golf, which was played in Orlando, Florida. And I will tell you that prior to Tiger Woods and his son Charlie playing in it, I did not know this tournament existed. I did not know this was an event that they did, that major champions and family members come together. A major champion, well, by now you know what it is because you watch Tiger and Charlie. And it is just unbelievable to me. I came across a tweet from Kyle Porter that says NBC's numbers for the event this week, they had about 2.3 million viewers. Earlier this year, they televised the Open Championship, better known in this country as the British Open. That's a major championship. For that, they delivered about 2.1 million viewers. More people chose to watch Tiger Woods and his 12-year-old son play this event that if they weren't in it, no one would even know it was happening, than watched a major championship in golf. And so we sometimes say an athlete is bigger than the sport he or she plays. In Tiger's case, that is 100% true. Tiger Woods is bigger than golf. And those numbers demonstrate it. The athletes who have transcended sport, who have become far larger than the sport in which they compete, there's a handful of them, and we all know who they are. Certainly Muhammad Ali jumps to mind. Babe Ruth jumps to mind. Now, Babe Ruth would have been seen by 1/1,000,000th of the number of people based just on, but that just is it's more a function of the world in which we live. The question, I don't know if this was the question you mean to ask me, but I think in my mind it's an even more interesting question. Is he the most famous athlete that we've ever had? And I think the answer is no. I think Muhammad Ali, man, at this point we're kind of splitting hairs.
No, but I guess my question, maybe I didn't ask it well. If you showed 100 random people in some random country, Tiger Woods and Muhammad Ali's picture, who would be more recognizable to those people?
Now, Tiger Woods. But if you had done that when Muhammad Ali was at his most famous, I think more people would have known him then than know Tiger now.
Muhammad Ali was more famous in his heyday than Tiger Woods was in his.
I think so. But yes, I think the answer to that is yes. I've told this story before, but you make me think of it. My wife and I, when we went on our honeymoons, we went to Morocco. We were in Marrakesh, Morocco, which I have described as the most obdurately foreign place I've ever been in my entire life. It's a fascinating, wonderful city. It was as far away from home as I've ever felt anywhere. And there were kids running around, little kids, local kids, wearing Chicago Bulls number 23 jerseys.
Wow.
How surprised were you when you heard he was going to play in this tournament?
I was dumbfounded. I got chill bumps. I said, this is a flat out miracle that only one man could pull off, and it's that man. I remind everyone, as Alex just said, it was just last February 23rd that Tiger Woods, at the wheel of a vehicle going downhill that reached 85 miles an hour, either fell asleep or lost consciousness, crashed through a median out here in the Los Angeles area, rolled his vehicle down basically a cliff, obviously totaled it, nearly killed himself, and could have killed somebody else because he went right across oncoming traffic.
Right.
And in the process of this, he fractured his tibia and his fibula and his ankle and his foot so badly that they considered, according to Tiger, amputation of his right leg. He wound up with a rod in the tibia and all sorts of screws and pins all the way down the rest of his leg into his foot to hold it all together.
Yep.
I also remind you, at that moment, he was coming off his 5th back surgery.
Right.
He's had spinal fusion, and if you know back surgeries, if you go that far, you got big problems.
Yeah.
And you usually never, ever come back even from that,
Right.
especially in a sport that requires torquing around the spine.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to play with a bad back.
I'd say. And to hit it as far as he used to hit it.
Right.
That, and I've said to you on this show before that Tiger Woods has suffered more injuries than most NFL players suffer in their career. Now you're telling me, as I told you, that this all-time golfer warrior, he's the greatest warrior ever played the game of golf, which isn't exactly a warrior's game, right? He's come all the way back in less than a year to play in an event. Let me tell you, even though he calls it a hit and giggle kind of a tournament, it's for major champions who get to play with a family member. He has chosen his now 12-year-old son, Charlie.
The one guy that could have made this possible is one Eldrick Tiger Woods because of what he's gone through. And you mentioned it, Skip, golf is not a contact or a collision sport. And he's having surgeries like he's been involved in collisions. Now, this last one, it was a collision. It was the vehicle in the side of a mountain. And for him to come back, Skip, you're absolutely right. It's nothing short of a miracle. But I automatically assume, Skip, anytime I hear bring your kid to work day, ain't no work getting done. And because of what he's gone through, people are going to be, they're not going to be as critical if Tiger doesn't hit a shot 300 yards. They're going to like, man, look what he came back from. I'm surprised he's even out there. So he has that going for him. And he's playing with his 12-year-old son, Skip. And so I think that because it's not, he can use a cart. So it's a lot.
Helps a little bit, I agree.
Yeah, it's
trust me on this, there's still humiliation factor. It's on national TV.
It is, Skip.
This kid looks like he's going to be something. And so I think Tiger's going to try to just get lost in the pride of watching his son up close and personal.
Yeah, Skip, but it's hard. It's kind of like Bronny. I mean, look who your dad is, and look who Charlie Woods, look who your dad is. How do you compete with that? Because everybody, your dad would have put that thing 5 feet from the pin. Your dad would have done it.
Charlie did not look afraid.
No.
Boy, he was good last year.
He's young enough to know what he doesn't know.
That is true.
So
blissful ignorance.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm happy to see him out there. I know he's going to have a good time. I think just the mere fact, Skip, that he's going to be out there on the golf course. Because I guarantee you, there are many days that he laid in that bed or he was sitting in that wheelchair. He's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get out here.
Correct. Does this bode well for Augusta National in April?
It does.
It does.
It does.
I'm not going to bet against him taking a run at it.
I
He says now he's just going to have to pick and choose the occasional tournament.
I think he picking. I think he's going to choose that one.
He would.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think everything is probably going to be around the majors, or maybe the Arnold Palmer, or the Jacks tournament up and skip the Memorial. I think everything is going to kind of be around those tournaments. I think he plays. He said 5 or 6. Well, you got 4 majors. You got the Arnold Palmer. You got the Jack tournament, the Memorial.
Yep.
I'm thinking that's probably going to be it, Skip.